Welcome to the podcast Growers. We're growing food in small spaces tonight, perfect for balconies, patios, and renters. Think you need a backyard to grow your own food? Think again. Whether you've got the balcony, the windowsill, a few pots on the porch, this is going to be your guide to turning small spaces into big harvests. We're going to dive into the world of container gardening. We're going to start growing no matter where you live. So let's talk about the containers themselves. What are we doing here for container materials? Fabric grow bags, your smart pots, root pouches, or do it yourself with reusable shopping bags or even pillowcases. What are the pros? It's lightweight, it's breathable, it promotes air pruning of roots, and has great drainage. This is a common theme. Drainage. You're going to hear this word all the time tonight or whenever you're listening, right? Cons, it can dry out quickly, needs frequent watering, not as durable over multiple seasons. Next, we have plastic pots and buckets, your 5-gallon bucket, your storage totes, your nursery pots, reused yogurt or salad containers, reuse the rotisserie chicken container. Maybe you got some tree containers from someone who is planting trees. What are the pros? Affordable, lightweight, holds moisture well, easy to find and repurpose. What are the cons? It can overheat in full sun. It may leach chemicals if not food safe, and they can degrade in UV. Now, of course, there's all the recycled containers, your milk jugs, soda bottles, old dish pans, baskets with liners, garbage bags, laundry baskets. What are the pros? Cheap or free, eco-friendly, reuse, and great for creative gardeners. What are the cons? May require drilling for drainage, not always long-lasting, and can look scrappy without styling. You might have to get the spray paint out if you want it to look a certain way, right? We always hear about terracotta clay pots. What are the pros? Natural look, breathable, prevents overwatering, and attractive. But the cons are it is heavy, it is breakable, and it does dry out fast. And it's not ideal for very hot or cold climates. I know for myself, I can't leave that outside in the winter, right? Not that I'm growing things in the winter, but I definitely have to baby them. I have to bring them in, those pots. Now, the glazed ceramic pottery, I'm also not a super fan of. What are the pros? Let's talk about the good things first. Durable, retains moisture better than terracotta, and beautiful for patios and front steps. But the cons, it is expensive. They are heavy. They usually need to be put on wheels, and they can crack in freezing temps. Now, what are the things we see most often? Wooden planters, maybe? Cedar boxes, crates, do-it-yourself pallet planters. The pros are natural aesthetic, customizable size, and insulates roots well. Understanding what's been in or around any containers you're growing in is important if there's some kind of sanitation or sealing that you need to do. And the cons are all wood rots over time, right? Needs a sealant or a liner, heavier to move. Concrete or stone containers. The pros, extremely durable, excellent insulation for roots, and great for permanent setups. Cons, heavy, okay, not good for balconies. Expensive and may leach lime. Understand what's in the cinder blocks and how you feel about that if you're going to grow edible food in it, right? Metal containers like galvanized tubs, old filing cabinets, feed troughs. Pros are industrial, aesthetic, durable, deep for root crops. Cons, they can overheat in the sun. Understand that. They could rust over time. There could be sharp edges needing care. There's so many companies that sell things for gardeners that are made for gardeners. Those I wouldn't say you have to worry so much about that kind of stuff. But if you're reusing something that has a purpose for another job, that's where you can run into some of these cons. And of course, pro tip, always ensure good drainage holes no matter what the container, okay? I am going to talk about hanging pots, hanging containers, and their crop list at the end of this podcast. Right now, we're going to go into best crops and varieties for container gardening. I'm going to give you what it is and the name of it and what is the depth it needs so you can help pick out the right home for it, right? You have your leafy greens. For lettuce, there's Butter Crunch, Little Gem, Tom Thumb. If you like spinach, there's Bloomsdale, Baby's Leaf, Space, Kale varieties are dwarf blue curled, lacinato is otherwise known as dinosaur kale, and red Russian. Arugula has astro, rocket, and wild arugula. So leafy greens are shallow-rooted fast growers. Their container depth should be 6 to 8 inches. So lettuce, you could get away with a 6-inch pot or window box. Spinach, same thing. Kale, I would go 8 to 10 inch pot. Hopefully that makes sense. Going into tomatoes and peppers, for what varieties can you grow in containers? Cherry tomatoes, Tiny Tim, Tumbling Tom, Sweet 100. Of course, there's dwarf or bush varieties. I grow micro dwarf. It's orange hat, very tiny. I can grow that in a green stock, which is an example of a vertical container. So for dwarf bush varieties for tomatoes, patio princess, balcony, or bush early girl. For peppers, there's sweet peppers like Lunchbox, Mini Bell, and California Wonder. Now, you do have some hot peppers that'll be okay. We'll talk about inch depth necessary needs here. The hot peppers is jalapeno, cayenne, and Numex Twilight. There's also Potapeno. If you want to see what that looks like, we showed a picture of it in the live stream version of this conversation. Check that out. So tomatoes are heavy feeders and have deep roots generally. The container depth should be 12 to 18 inches. So think of that as 5 to 7 gallon pot. Okay. Sturdy cages or staking can be required even in containers. For peppers, it's a compact shallow root system, container depth 8 to 12 inches. You would be safe with a 5 gallon pot per plant. So I've grown peppers in a 5 gallon bucket with drainage holes, and it did it. It did a job. I grew peppers. Now I did it with tomatoes, but I grew the wrong kind. I grew monsters, like interdeterminate tomatoes in a 5 gallon bucket, and that was a bad idea. I should have had bush or determinate or dwarf in them, right? Let's talk about root vegetables you can grow in containers. We have our carrots. I am a carrot lover. Parisian, little finger, Thumbelina. For radishes, there's cherry bell, French breakfast, and Easter egg. All beautiful. For beets, there's Detroit dark red, Chigoya, and golden. I like golden beets for sure. You can eat the greens as well as the root. Let's talk container depth. Root vegetables, of course, need depth for straight growth. Container depth should be 12 inches minimum, really. So pick your container, 12 inches for the depth. Now, as far as the diameter of it, how many do you want to plant, right? We can grow alliums too, either for a bulb or the leafy green part. There's green onions like Ishikura, White Lipson, Evergreen Hardy. There's garlic softneck varieties like Inchelium Red and California Early. If we're talking about container depth for alliums, they do need space. They have a shallow root system. Container depth should be 8 inches. Now, for the green onions, it could be a shallow tray or 6-inch pot. Garlic would need a wider container and an 8-inch depth. Now, of course, I feel like we've seen everywhere strawberries in containers, right? And I do plan on doing a live stream where we specifically talk about all the different ways to grow strawberries, and maybe one of them would work for you. So make sure you subscribe to catch when that show happens. So for the variety names for strawberries, I have here Albion, Seascape, Ozark Beauty. We are going to possibly go through more as we talk about hanging baskets. So for the container for strawberries, shallow root system, loves vertical options, 6 to 8 inches. Stackable planters, window boxes, they like to hang out, right? Now we also have beans and peas for container gardening. Yes, the bush beans like Provider, Blue Lake 274, and Contender. Sugar snap peas, Sugar Ann, Little Marvel, and Cascadia. What is the container size for those? Again, bush is the key word here. Bush types are ideal for containers. 6 to 8 or 8 to 10 inches. Wow. Think of it as a 3-gallon pot. And for the peas, make a plan for a trellis. It could be a piece of fencing. It could be some sticks. It could be something up against your wall. But they would like some support. Now, there are ones that say no trellis required. They might blow in the wind a little. We have herbs, of course, are great contenders for containers. There's basil, the Genovese, Greek dwarf, spicy globe, parsley, there's flat leaf, curly moss, thyme, oregano, chives, mint. Keep mint in its own pot. Let me repeat that. Keep mint in its own pot. Lemon balm, same thing, same family. Cilantro. I have the varieties here, Santo and Slow Bolt. I feel like the trick to cilantro is just keep planting it every 2 weeks. Because, yes, some of it's going to bolt and go to flower. So for the container size, the depth, 4 to 8 inches. I feel like you could find anywhere and anything to plant some herbs in, right? We have more crops to talk about. We're going to call these the other fun crops. There's potatoes like Yukon Gold, Red Norland, Purple Majesty, growing in deep grow bags. 10 gallons is ideal to minimally start with. Go bigger, right? Zucchini, there's bush baby, 8-ball, and raven. Again, that bush word, compact bush type zucchini. And then cucumbers, bush pickle, space master, and patio snacker. To specifically give you container depths, the potatoes, again, is a 10 to 15 gallon ideal situation. You would place some soil at the bottom with some compost, put the potatoes towards the bottom. I'm in the container at this minute. Put the potatoes in there, add some soil compost, add some worm castings, add some soil compost. Like, it's these little layers, because as it crawls up, it's going to be like, oh, here's some nutrients. Oh, here's some nutrients. And that's how I've been told to do it. I have grown potatoes in a container, but it wasn't big enough, if I'm going to be honest here. I did not listen, and it was too small, and the harvest was piddly, right? For cucumbers or the squash, the zucchini, the bush types, the 7-gallon pot, a 10-gallon pot per plant. You can have it vine out or you can trellis it up. Those would be good options for you. Okay, here is the best crops and varieties for the hanging pots. So strawberries, TriStar, are ever-bearing and great for hanging baskets. Albion is a high yield and sweet. I've never done the hanging basket growing simply because I don't have anywhere to hang baskets on. I could see how it would be beneficial, right? So there's trailing cherry tomato varieties like Tumbling Tom, red or yellow, specifically bred for hanging baskets. Then there's hundreds and thousands, which is super prolific. And then something called balcony. It's compact and will spill over for growth, which is what you want. There's peppers, mini or compact varieties. The patio, like we talked about, works for a hanging basket or just a container. Basket of Fire is colorful mini hot peppers with cascading branches. And then there's one called Chili. It's ornamental and edible and good for vertical growing. Your herbs, of course, the thyme will gently spill over the sides, oregano, creeping rosemary, mint, again, keep it contained, right? Then there's trailing bean varieties for hanging baskets. Muscati is a bush bean bred for containers and hanging baskets. There's Golden Sunshine, which is a small trailing yellow bean. And then there's Dwarf Teepee, which is compact and decorative. And we cannot forget about our edible flowers. I did a live stream dedicated to edible flowers entirely and some recipes. Check out the live stream about that. It'll be at a future podcast coming up. Subscribe to be notified. So there's nasturtiums, your jewel mix or Empress of India. They are edible and they are peppery, and there's many things you can do with nasturtiums. They are beautiful. Violas and calendula. I never thought to have in a hanging basket, but when I did the research, that surprised me, definitely. But I could see how that would work, right? So let me know below, what's your biggest challenge with container gardening? Is it a limited space or sunlight option? Is it choosing the right container or soil? Knowing what crops to grow? Keeping plants alive, the watering or pest problems? Let me know. What are you most excited about to grow in a container this season? Is it your fresh herbs, your salad greens, tomatoes or peppers? Or is it strawberries or mini dwarf fruit trees? Let's hear from you. Don't forget to check out my YouTube channel, Shawnee Grows, for even more tips and our live streams. Of course, thanks for listening to Learn as You Grow. Be sure to follow the podcast, leave a review, and share it with a fellow gardener. Until next time, grow every day in every way.